that Bruce has gone to another country. He was in the lab of another country. Because Ross said to him on call that I can cure you. She asks him to come to that lab. An experiment is done on him in this lab, so that he can be fine and will stay Bruce for always. But that experiment fails, and Bruce changes into Hulk. He becomes aggressive. That how disgusting is this? He leaves from there while making them all injured. He moves to another country. To control this habit of anger, he joins yoga classes. He was also trying to make himself fine, to stay Bruce for always and never change into the Hulk. Bruce works in that company to make bottles. One day during work his hand cuts. His blood falls on a bottle. When that bottle was filled with soda and a man drinks it, that disease also transfers into him, which has no cure yet. When those reports go to the army general, he understands that this disease or these germs can only transfer through Bruce. Surely he is alive somewhere. I should search for him. Then he comes to know that bottles made in which country. He sends his army to hold him. Then they see him. When Bruce comes to know about it, he thinks that how I will defeat them. Here he again turns into a Hulk unwillingly. After it, he competes with them and runs from there, so that none will hold him this time. Now that army leader who was sent by the general, he says to general that I couldn't hold him. I don't know what kinds of powers he has, he was like a giant. That army general says don't worry, I will tell you the ways to fight with him. On the other side, we see that Bruce arrives in that country where Ross called him in the lab. He took admission to a university and there he sees Ross. When he sees her walking with another boy, he thinks that she has forgotten me. That's why she is with that boy. He gets hurt and leaves from there. He goes to a pizza shop. There the owner tells him that he is a friend of Ross and he is a good boy. Leave it, I will give you a job. The job is as a pizza delivery man and in return, you can live here. Bruce talks on the internet without telling his identification. This means none knows that he is Hulk or Bruce. He talks randomly. Then one day Bruce receives an order of pizza from that university where he studied before. He sees that there is none in the computer lab. He goes there and opens his account. But he sees that there is no information related to his name, not also related to Ross's name. He texts that man whom he talks to on the internet. He tells him everything. When Bruce returns, he sees that Ross is sitting in that pizza shop. She was sitting with her friend. Ross sees him but Bruce runs from there. Ross follows him, but she couldn't see him. She comes back and asks that pizza owner, that is, he lives here? Don't tell a lie. That pizza owner says yes, he lives here. Now Bruce was leaving that city but Ross comes behind him. She says him to stop, don't leave. She takes him with her to her home. They talk, and Ross says to him that I have what you want. You don't need to hide from me. I will never arrest you. But do consider my saying. And if we give this data to the army general so he can help us. No, this is your misunderstanding. This is your thinking that he will help me. They want to make the Hulks after killing me with my skin. After it, the scene changes and we see the father of Ross, means the army general. He was about to complete his promise with that army leader. He says to him that don't worry, I'll make you powerful, that you will compete with the Hulk. And you will catch him. He injects him some injections. He injects the injections in his neck, his bones, and in his spinal cord. Due to it, he becomes more active. He becomes more powerful. Now Bruce says to Ross that I just want this data. I can't stay here more. The army will be coming to hold me. He just says this. Meanwhile the army arrives there. Don't know who tells them that Bruce is here. He starts running and the army was also behind him. Then he was imprisoned at a bridge. At that time he takes out while breaking the bridge. He was again turned into a Hulk. Those bullets of the soldiers were not affecting him like before. That army leader orders them to shoot him in front of the tank. Then it was done the same with him. But Hulk has the courage and the powers. He bears it. He didn't break himself and didn't get hurt. Then suddenly he lifts up and ruins those tanks. Hulk also kills a human. Then the army general says that no one will go near him right now. Because he is a wave of anger, he can kill everyone. He sends her daughter Rose to him. He says her to go and calm him down so that he will change into Bruce. She goes near him, but meanwhile, a helicopter of army starts firing him. Hulk protects Ross while spreading his hands around her to protect her from the bullets. Then he destroys that helicopter. There he also crushed the bones of that army leader, the leader who tried to attack him. Then he comes to the mountains after taking Ross from there, the place where the army couldn't find her. Then we see that the army leader was in the hospital. The doctors say that his bones are not able to join now. He will always stay in the condition of the coma. But then surprisingly he wakes up. His bones were joined and he was absolutely fine. That was because of the injection which that army general injected in him. Seeing it, the army general injects more injections into him. On the other side, Bruce says to Hulk that I want to remove the Hulk from me for always. If there is no bamboo, there won't be any noise of the flute. When there will be no Hulk, whom will they catch? Bruce says to Rose that I have an idea. We should go to meet that man whom I talk about on the internet randomly. He also has a lab. He doesn't know me, but when he will come to know that who am I, he will surely help me. Now they move towards his lab. Finally, he meets that man. That random man says to Bruce that I thought that you are a giant, like you told me about yourself. Then Bruce says yes I am, but this is my version of a normal human. That man says to him that look, I have the medicine but it is strong. I don't know that you could control it or not. Will you bear it or not? You can die due to that medicine. Shall I inject that medicine? Then Bruce says that, who cares about life? I only want to kill Hulk always. Then he was taken to the lab. But to inject that medicine it was compulsory to make him Hulk before. That's why they give him electric shocks so that he will change into Hulk in anger. It happens the same. Ross starts talking to him, look, don't harm anything. We are here for your benefit. Remember this all. With it, that random man injects his medicine into him. That Hulk starts changing into his real form Bruce, which means a good human. That random man was happy because his experiment was successful and he also invents the cure for this disease. That man tells them that any disease can cure possibly. In fact, Bruce has sent me his blood. With that blood drop I have made more blood. I have done the tests of many animals but its results didn't come in front. Now as I test it on Hulk and his disease was cured, so we can make the disease of other people's disease. But Bruce and Ross say that it is dangerous. The army is also behind it, and if they will know that you are having it, they will take you. With it, they will also make many Hulks with this blood. They will destroy the world. Meanwhile, the army arrives there. They again make Bruce faint. Then the army general takes Ross with him. On the other side, that army leader arrives at the random man. He says to him on the gunpoint that injects his blood in me, so that I could become Hulk. That random man does this unwillingly. As he injects blood in him, he changes into a weird creature. There were dirty spikes on its body. Means its skin was rough. He beats that random man and leaves that lab. On the other side, that army general sees a strange creature on his screen. It was falling down. He thinks that Hulk means Bruce is sitting with me. Who is he? He comes to know he is that army leader, and what has he done? Now the army general has realized his mistake. Because that army leader was changed into a creature, it is more difficult to stop him. Because he becomes a dangerous creature. Then Bruce says, see, you didn't agree with what I have said. To catch me, your own colleagues have deceived you. Now you please let me go, because none can stop him except me. That army general also knows that he has sent his many armies, tried many times. But he couldn't hold Hulk. So how can he hold this creature? Then the plan of the army general changes. He doesn't let him go. He forcefully jumps while opening the door of the helicopter. He hits with the road, due to which that road breaks. And Hulk comes out of there, which means Bruce now becomes Hulk. That army leader creature was in front of him. That army leader creature attacks that helicopter. There was Ross in that helicopter. The Hulk tries to stop it. They fight a lot. Meanwhile, Hulk sees that the helicopter of Ross was on fire and it was about to crash. Hulk immediately goes and blown off that fire. Hulk again goes to that army leader creature. He starts pressing his neck with a big chain. Then he puts his foot on his chest. That strange creature faints there. Meanwhile, the army arrives there and they start firing on him. But the father of Ross, means the army general, stops them. Ross comes to him and says that I knew that you will not harm anyone. And you always try to save this world. Forgive me for my faults. Then she starts weeping. Hulk makes her quiet. This means he has the control over himself, that after changing into Hulk he can control his feelings. Now he knows the difference between good and bad. Then a bad army again comes there to hold him. They follow him. Hulk runs from there, while running and jumping. Now, this incident passed since the accident. He was doing yoga and some exercises there, to never become Hulk again. Then we see that suddenly his eyes turn green. A smile comes on his face. Bruce has controlled himself now, he can't become the Hulk. And if he wants to use the power of the Hulk, his eyes will only turn green. Then